and gentlemen, Case the Producer here from Brian and Kinsey in the morning on Q101. This is a case for a show in which I've coerced management and letting me talk to my favorite bands. And luckily enough, we not only have a great band here today, we have a local band. It is Nico from Friko. How are you, my friend?
Hi, I'm good.
Good. I'm not going to do any puns with your name. My name's Case. I get sick of it. What's the worst thing you get when it comes to your name and your band's name? Do people try to rhyme them or rap them or something like that?
Well, the name actually came from like a joke in high school where like some friends would like call me like Sneeko or just like stuff like that rhymes with it. So it's kind of just comes with it.
That's fun. You handle it well. It's a good name. It's a good band name. I'm so happy for you. By the time this comes out, you will have just played a packed Metro record release show for the album, Where We've Been, Where We Go From Here. How are you doing? Are you sick of doing press at this point? Because I see your name in a lot of headlines. Not in tabloids necessarily, but in a lot of headlines. Are you doing okay? Are you holding up through this press cycle?
Yeah, I mean, it's been like an exciting thing for me. And it's also the kind of thing where it's like, I like knew we were asking for it. Like it's part of like the job description. So, and it's been fun and honestly just like grateful that people are interested enough at this point, you know? Like that's the most of it, yeah.
Are you happy with the record? I would imagine record release day for something this hyped, this anticipated, was a very nerve-wracking time for you. As the dust has settled and time has gone on a little bit, are you looking at this project and you're like, man, I'm really proud that I made this? Or are there little things on the record where you're like, I hate myself, why is this on the album?
No, that's a good point. I think with this record, I mean, one of the biggest things definitely seeing going around on the internet especially is like people saying like how out of nowhere it was for them. I think for a lot of people actually like, there was definitely like could feel the hype before it, but yeah, the response after the record coming out has been just really cool and surreal. And looking back at the record, it's kind of, I feel like I was talking to my friend Jack, who I live with as well, and Bailey, because we all live together because Jack engineered the record, Bailey's drummer, and as time goes on, we just grow more fond of it because we become less judgmental of it. And it was like such a specific moment in time where it's like going forward, we know we'll have things we want to change from it, but it is a perfect encapsulation of like our friendship in that like moment in time, you know.
That's really beautiful. You live with your band, you tour with your band. Do you get sick of your band? That feels like a lot of time with one another.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't toured enough. I mean, the touring this year is going to be the test of that, but no, not necessarily. Me and Bailey especially, I think we just level each other out. We're very, very different personalities, like the opposites, so I think it just levels out.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
With this record, it's a very mature-sounding record. It feels, I got to be honest, it makes me want to cry because there are songs on it that are so beautiful. I hope that's okay. Is that a compliment towards a musician that I want to cry when I listen to you guys?
Yeah, that's the point of sad music.
Good. Well, in relation to that, I'm just curious because you, so young, so handsome, this world will beat you up, it'll eat you alive, but I'm rooting for you in the process of it. Is this record the first time you feel like you've made something where you can look back on it and feel proud of it and go, man, this is really good? Is that the first time you've had this feeling, or in terms of your songwriting and your musicianship, do you feel like you've kind of been pretty good at this for a while?
It's definitely the first thing like can look back at and be like really proud of. The EP we spent so much time on, but like we weren't really a band at that point. We had just formed as a band. So once it came to this project, and like I had never written anything with like enough songs that fit together. Like the EP also just felt like 4 separate songs that put together. And this album was kind of like the first time it was like all these songs kind of had one meaning and purpose behind them, because they kind of came from a point of my life and all of our lives were involved with it, where it's like we kind of felt the same general stuff, you know.
Can I ask thematically, do you feel like there's a theme between the 9 songs on the record?
Yeah, I would say so. I'd say it's like generally loose, but the message is just generally the same.
Can we dive into that message a little bit? What do you feel like, as a songwriter, what do you feel like you tried to get across in this album, and looking back, do you feel like you accomplished that goal?
I feel like it's the kind of thing where it's like, especially with sad music, where it's like my favorite sad music was just like, it makes you feel deeply, because I feel like that's a point you need to get to like make any change in your life. And it's kind of like to encourage that for other people, because it kind of did that for us. Yeah, because these songs were meant to like, they made us all feel very, very deeply. And yeah, I've found that with like even writing these songs, like I'll need to feel deeply before I can write a song. feel like that's the truth for anybody to do anything.
What does that process look like? Are you somebody that writes every day, or do you feel like you almost stumble into songwriting at times? It just flows out naturally.
I mean, I'll try to write and come up with ideas every day, but songs don't come along like very often for me. Yeah, I'm definitely not the most prolific songwriter.
Your band's in a very interesting spot right now. We're obviously thrilled to have you here. I have news for you. This will not be the only time you're brought into Q101. I expect bigger and better things from you guys, even though you're already outstanding. But you went from a band that was one of millions of new bands in the world to all of a sudden you have buzz and there are people paying attention to you and they're waiting for what's next and there's expectations that are on your shoulders now. Does that scare you at all? What has it been like with just the ever so slight change in public perception where now, again, people want more Friko? Does that at all freak you out?
Yeah, it definitely does freak us out a little bit. In a way, like at first impression, it freaks us out. But the more we think about it, we're just kind of like, we're not the type of band that can put out like music that won't feel right to us. And we know when it feels right to us now. I feel like that's the biggest thing we got from this record was like, we know what feels like the band now, what feels like Friko. So we can just kind of go off that. And if it doesn't feel right to us, it's probably not going to feel right to everybody else who's listening. So we're just going to have to do that.
How aware are you of comments or reviews or the general perception of your band? Are you somebody that finds yourself maybe reading YouTube comments, or do you try to ignore all of that?
I mean, to be honest, for this, like, since this is the first time there's actually been, like a good amount of people reacting to the record, it's been hard to stay away from that stuff, but I'm already realizing I'm going to have to limit myself because it's not smart. It's not a good thing.
Are you aware of the glowing Pitchfork review that you
Yeah,
received?
that was very cool.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm curious about that because I'm on the other side of the curtain from you. I do music reviews. I interview bands. I don't make music myself, but I logged on to Pitchfork one day. I was aware of you guys already, but I see that Pitchfork's talked about you guys, and specifically Ian Cohen, who is my favorite music reviewer, was the one that wrote about you guys. Does that mean anything to you as a fan of music to have glowing praise in a publication like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been definitely complicated with Pitchfork the past month or so, but Ian Cohen,
they're going through some tough times.
Yeah, but Ian Cohen is definitely a specific reviewer who's done a lot of album reviews of albums that me and the band love. So that was really cool and surreal. And obviously getting a Pitchfork review is the type of thing I dream about from middle school. So it was very, very cool.
Are you finding that you're checking off more and more things on that list of I don't want to say your rock star list because I don't know if Friko's all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, but as you go along in life, are you oh, I met so-and-so, or I'm doing this, and maybe it's a little easier to come home on the holidays now and convince people that I'm in a real band and I'm actually doing something with my life?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a cool feeling to be able to feel like there's actual tangible things that are happening. There was in Jeff Tweedy's book, he wrote about a thing where he was it was after 20 years into their careers out to dinner, and someone from high school came up to him in a restaurant and was oh, you still in that little band you guys got there? And it's that's just how it goes. I think that's just, if you're doing music, it's such a blessing to be able to do it, It's you're not always going to get the respect that maybe you put in the hours to maybe get, but that's how it goes,
For sure, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the success so far is well earned. I want to talk about, again, the record and the odd success you guys have found in Japan. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because you guys are big in Chicago, but as it turns out, you're getting big in Japan as well.
Yeah, it seems like we're bigger in Japan for some reason. It's very cool because we've always talked about how Japan's the number one place we want to tour. Just culturally, there's so many differences and so freaking cool. But I have no idea why. I think it got popular on Twitter somehow, and that's the internet,
It's beautiful. It's really, it's a very cool thing. I would like to have that on my trophy mantle at some point. I would love to sell out of records in Japan, but you've accomplished that, so well done to you.
Thank you.
Of course. So as the record itself, I'm curious about the cover art and how that came to be, because I don't know what it is about me. I'm finding myself getting very emotionally moved by birds lately, which I think is a sign that I need to call somebody. I don't know if everything's okay inside with me, but you have a cardinal on your record. It's beautiful. I'm just so curious about how that album artwork came to be.
Yeah, so that that started, we kind of had, the red thing was always kind of a general aesthetic for us. So we kind of had that deep red. But the Cardinal, I mean, the idea of the Cardinal being on the cover came from the song, and having that song for a couple years, and it kind of becoming a core song for us that, like, you know, I'd play it solo during a set. It kind of just had that meaning that represents the whole album for us. But I mean, it's actually a really long and funny story that I couldn't get into too much because there's like copyright stuff probably involved.
Okay, I don't want to get you in trouble.
We had to redo an emblem because it was initially something from another thing, and we had to have a friend draw it. But we're very happy with how it turned out regardless.
I'm very happy with how it turned out, too. I'm also very happy with the song Crashing Through on the record. It's my favorite song on the album. I think it's beautiful. You guys did a great music video for that. Can you talk to me about the inspiration behind that music video and then the process of making that what it became?
Yeah, I mean, Alec Bass produced that video and directed it, and he and his team with Max Moore, too, are really incredible Chicago people. And, yeah, together we, like, came up with the idea of, you know, crashing through like the smashing things and like stuff blowing everywhere. And that was just like such a blast, especially the last scene of like everybody in a room breaking things. Like it felt like, you know, Space Odyssey. Like it was crazy. Like the monkeys just like, I've never felt anything like that before. Just breaking like printers and like it was nuts.
Did it feel good?
It felt really good. Yeah.
Good. Any injuries?
No, some scratches though. It was honestly, yeah, really way more dangerous than we anticipated. And we got lucky. Nobody got hurt.
Real quick before I let you go, because you're obviously a busy man, we talked about the buzz that this band has right now, the fact that you're from Evanston. I talked to Deanna from Sincere Engineer, another great Chicago band, about this. I'm curious if you have thoughts on it, because I think you guys are very slowly hitting this point, or rather very quickly, where when you think about Chicago bands, it's the Pumpkins, and it's Liz Phair, and it's the Smoking Popes, and then you have Rise Against, and then you have this new generation. And I think you're a part of this new generation of Chicago bands. Does it ever hit you at all that, like, I'm doing the thing that I wanted to do growing up? I'm in the Chicago scene the way that it's been fabled in publications throughout the years?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, like, that's kind of why we want to identify as a Chicago band because, you know, Chicago kind of has that, like, modesty to it, especially in coming up as a band in it. And, like, a bunch of the bands you named, I mean, fans of Forever. And, like, there's so many local bands that we love that, you know, that are coming up that are even the ones that are slightly older than us and ones slightly younger. There's just so many bands. It's funny you mentioned Smoking Popes, though, because I work with Eli Caterer at my warehouse job that I've been working at for a few years.
Is that the vinyl store?
Yeah, they sell, like, an audio equipment.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
Can we talk about that place real quick? Because I went there once. They let me into their, like, the warehouse where you can shop. I felt like I was committing a crime. I felt like I was breaking into a place I shouldn't have been. That place is
intense.
crazy.
Yeah, it's tense. It's definitely for, like, audiophiles.
Yeah, which I thought I was, and then I went there and I was like, I'm not on this level. I feel like a poser now.
That's funny you say that, though. I mean, those people are they're into music, man.
That's very well said. They are into music. Well, Nico, congratulations on the success of the record. It's marvelous. The band is brilliant. I am rooting for you guys. Before I let you go, tell the people in said camera, how can they support you guys and what can they do to make you feel loved?
Well, if you guys enjoyed the record, we're going to be touring a bunch this year. If you guys want to come out to any shows, if you want to support us by buying the record, that would be incredible. But yeah, if you want to come to a show and say hi, that would be the most meaningful thing. So thank you guys for everything.
Please come to a show and say hi. In the meantime, this has been a Case 4 with Case the Producer on Q101, a Case for Friko.